We mentioned previously that if we get a Docker container working locally, it should be able to be fairly portable, meaning if we deploy that Docker container to a production environment, it should run the same. Let's go ahead and deploy a Docker container to Heroku, a platform as a service that manages a lot of the under-the-hood complexity of application infrastructure. In order to get started, you'll want to make sure that you have a Heroku account, which you can get by going to heroku.com and then clicking sign up, as well as the Heroku CLI. Both of the links are provided in the notes. Once you have the CLI and a Heroku account, go ahead and go to your terminal window and then log into Heroku. Heroku login, and then type your credentials. Now once you've logged into Heroku, you also want to log in to the container registry. This is very similar to Docker Hub, and it's Heroku's location for storing images. Now before we push our image, our note-taking app image, we'll want to make a couple changes, and that's because our Docker file isn't quite production ready. I'm going to go ahead and pull up our Docker file and also give you some background on how Heroku deploys applications. Now when Heroku deploys an application, it's going to provide a port environment variable for us, and as long as we're listening to that environment variable, it'll be used by our application, and then it will be accessible on the web. However, in our Docker file, we actually overwrite the port here and make it port 3000. Now on a live site, it's not going to be port 3000. So what we want to do is we want to take that line out. Now it should work on production. However, when it comes to running this application locally, we're still exposing port 3000, and we haven't defined a port for local development. Well, I suppose that's half true, because in server.js, we have a port right here, port 4000. So the port of the application will be either the environment variable or 4000 if none is provided. Given that, if we run this locally, it should run on port 4000. So we're just going to expose 4000 so that this will work locally as well. Alright, so once those changes have been made to our application, we should be ready to go. Now in order to push this image, it will just take two commands. So first thing we want to do is we want to create a Heroku app. Typing Heroku create will spin up an application in Heroku. And notice that it will generate a name for us. And we'll be able to access it here. Now first we want to push that particular image. And Heroku also has a really handy command for that. It's Heroku container:push. And it accepts a couple of different arguments. The first one is going to be the process type of our application. We're going to define it to be web, since this is a web application. Alternatively, you can also define web worker images. And then second, we're going to give it the name of our app. In this case, it's going to be this automatically generated name that Heroku gave us. Now when we run this command, by default, Heroku is going to build the application using the Docker file in the current directory. So that will build the image and then push it to Heroku. And we'll see right here, it is taking care of that right now and pushing that image up. So it's going to take a little while, but once everything has been pushed up, then Heroku would take care of setting the port environment variable and then serving up our application. Also note that we're pushing the image and then we're defining the process type. There's also some underlying logic that Heroku uses in order to know what to start in our image. And that's going to be defined as the entry point to the application. For Node apps, it's usually going to be npm start, but depending on the application, you may want to check Heroku's documentation just to make sure that you're setting everything up correctly in the configuration of your application. I went ahead and fast forwarded a little bit, but after a while, your image should be pushed to Heroku. Then if you want to go ahead and view your application, you can either copy and paste the URL of your application up here, which should be your app name.herokuapp.com, or you can type the following command, Heroku open -- app and then the name of your application. I'm going to go ahead and switch over and refresh, and I already have the application open. And then you can try typing in notes and then watching them appear on the page. Now keep in mind a couple things. First off, Heroku's file system is ephemeral, meaning that it'll last a very short time and the files will then be recycled and reinstantiated to their initial point. So don't count on any of this data being stored in there permanently. Also, keep in mind that these Heroku applications are running under free accounts. Therefore, after approximately 30 minutes or so, the application server will go to sleep, and the next time you open the application, it may take a few seconds for it to get up and running.